Galatians 3:20, it says, a mediator is not a mediator of one, but God is one. So the first member and the second member of the Godhead are one. So in love, so one and united with each other. They basically say, hey, Abraham, come up here and be a mediator. So Abraham comes up and sees remember, this is kind of my fantastical story to make a point. So Abraham kind of comes up and sees the first member of the Godhead and the second member of the Godhead all just one and united. The second member is looking at the first is looking at the second. They're so loved, they're so secure with each other. And so Abraham kind of rolls his eyes and says, oh, you two, come on. What are you doing? You guys are, kind of like a kid who watches his parents being lovey-dovey. The kids kind of roll their eyes. So Abraham's kind of like that. So God's like, so the first member of the Godhead's like, Abraham, come here. I want you to squeeze in between us and somehow separate us in our love, in our union. And the reason I say it that way, in a kind of a fun way to express it, is as Abraham believed the promises God made to him, through that faith, God was able to, because remember, God has given the earth over to man, that in order to come through into the earth, he has to have a man's authority. So God can't just come and do whatever he wants. I mean, if he did, everybody would be saved yesterday. Everybody would be healed yesterday. So that is God's will, but he must come through people to do it. So Abraham's like, I need your authority to get into the earth. So I want you to come up and squeeze between us as a mediator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make promises to you. And I'm a God who cannot lie. So everything I promise you, I will fulfill. But I'm really not promising it to you directly. I'm promising it through you. In other words, as you, Abraham, as having authority in the earth, so I need your free will belief in me to come through you. So as you trust me, I'm going to come through you, and eventually through your lineage, through your seeds, plural, eventually work all the way down to where I can get the second member of the Godhead that I'm so one with. I'm going to get him a body. In other words, he's going to become a person. God is going to become a man. And it's to that man who's not going to be on the earth for another 1,500 years. He's the one I'm really making these promises to. And of course, he's going to be the one that's going to, and of course, Abraham doesn't realize this all at the beginning. But he's going to be the one that keeps the law, never sins, never breaks the covenant. So he's the one that's going to fulfill this covenant. So God wants to make promises to Abraham, but really it's through Abraham to Jesus, who will come on the scene in like 1,500 years or whatever it is. And of course, through Abraham's faith, that gives Jesus this body, that gives God an actual body when he becomes a man. And then that's as the first member of the Godhead becomes known as his Father. So now as Jesus is on earth, there's a father and a son relationship of love, but it's the same unity of love between the Father and Jesus as they had before the world was, the unity they had with each other when they were known as the first member and the second member of the Godhead.